Chapter 574 I've come. Tanya wasn't far away, and she hurried over when she heard his voice. Even though she still hadn't fused with the Blue Silver Emperor, her martial soul was recovering, and she had recovered her strength as an 8-ringed soulmaster in this time. The evil soulmasters had hurt her badly, but she had managed to keep her strength and improvements. She had recovered her martial soul, and her prowess was increasing linearly. She was now considered one of the stronger ones within the Tang Sect. Huro Yuao hurriedly said, "They're fine. Don't worry, eldest senior brother. But the Douluo Empire is in trouble. There were many people around them, so the four of them went into a silent room as Huro Yuao recounted the entire journey. Bei's expression turned black as he listened to his words. An entire country's royal palace was flattened just like that. If not for the fact that Shu Sanchi had the Douluo Empire's royal blood in his veins, their problem would be much bigger than this, and the Douluo Empire would probably crumble and implode. Bei heaved a sigh and said, "The continent's situation is no longer something we can control. We can only do all we can now, and hope for the best. Do you have any suggestions, little junior brother?" Huro Yuao lowered his voice and said, "The academy has too much responsibility because they have to protect themselves. The academy cannot abandon Shrek City's defenses, even though they're aware that our enemy will not attack. The Douluo Empire and the Dalu Empire's elites are also inside Shrek City. If this continues, when the Sun Moon Empire's great army launches an all-out attack, neither country will be able to stop the Sun Moon Empire no matter who they choose to target. The academy has preserved the two empires' elites, but we cannot allow the Sun Moon Empire to destroy the Douluo Empire and the Dalu Empire just like that. Therefore, our top priority is to draw the Sun Moon Empire's army away from Shrek City. At least, the target will become a lot more evident after retreating. When that happens, we will have it easier, whether we are trying to hold them back or fighting against them. At the very least, we will not be dragged by our noses. The Sun Moon Empire's army is like a bone stuck in our throats. Shrek City's position has tied up the Daluo and Douluo Empire, and they're not having a good time." Bei said, "But what can we do so that the Sun Moon Empire will retreat? That's almost impossible. They got away with destroying the Douluo Empire's royal palace this time, and that manner can even be replicated. I have an idea." Huro Yuao suddenly said. "Ah." Tang Wutong was astonished when she heard his words, not to mention Bei or Tanya. "You have an idea? What's your idea?" Bei said in surprise. Huro Yuao clenched his fists subconsciously. "The only way to deal with the Sun Moon Empire's overt scheme is to surprise them, and I am the surprise factor. I'm going for a rest, eldest senior brother, teacher Xiaoya." Huro Yuao turned to leave as he finished his statement without even explaining things properly. Bei frowned, but he didn't chase after Huro Yuao and allowed him to leave. Tang Wutong hurriedly followed behind him. Tanya nudged Bei and asked, "Why aren't you asking him what he intends to do?" Bei shook his head and replied, "I trust him, so I'm not going to ask. Yuao has grown much more than we have over the past few years, and his personality has become increasingly stable and mature. If somebody else were to go through this matter, that person would probably have panicked a long time ago, and wouldn't know what to do at all. But he's not panicking, can't you see? His eyes are determined, and it's clear that he's had a plan all along. Since that's the case, why should I ask? All we must do is deal with our own matters adequately. Our operation can continue once the Sun Moon Empire retreats." Tanya nodded and said, "All right, let's go do some work." Huro Yuao returned to his room, and Tang Wutong followed him inside. "What's your solution?" Bei didn't ask, but that didn't mean that Tang Wutong wouldn't. She also trusted Huro Yuao, but she was much more worried about him at the same time. Huro Yuao didn't tell Bei about how he had tried to resign at the Sea God's Pavilion before this. Even though he wasn't successful, Tang Wutong could tell from his mannerisms what he was about to do. Huro Yuao exhaled deeply, and he contemplated for a few moments before he pulled Tang Wutong over and whispered something into her ear. "What? You? But will they agree?" Huro Yuao smiled plainly and said, "I will make them agree. This plan has more than one goal." Tang Wutong was worried. "But you?" Huro Yuao smiled. "What? Do you not trust my strength? Then I'll go with you." Tang Wutong retorted. Huro Yuao shook his head. "No, my plan cannot be completed like that. Furthermore, we can't fuse our martial souls because martial soul fusion skills consume too much energy and are not suitable for prolonged battles. Don't worry, you can sit back and watch my enemies, and you can watch your husband massacre everyone. I haven't married you yet." Tang Wutong snapped unhappily. "Yes, my dear. When is my father-in-law coming back? I can't wait any longer. Come, let me give you a kiss. My skin is quite big anyway." The sun was already high in the sky as it shone over the great earth. A new day had begun, and the Sun Moon Empire's deadline for Shrek City was here. However, strangely, the Sun Moon Empire wasn't doing anything at all. They weren't even pushing forward. They just stayed 45 kilometers from Shrek City. This distance wasn't considered close, but it wasn't considered very far either. Soul engineers would only need about 15 minutes of flying at full speed before they could launch an onslaught against Shrek City. Shrek City had been weary and vigilant over the past few days. Now time was up, and nobody knew whether the Sun Moon Empire would make their move. Every soul engineer in the city was nervously prepared for battle with their soul tools, and there were quite a few stronger soul masters patrolling outside the city. Shrek City's surveillance soul tools were inferior to the Sun Moon Empire's, but Shrek City had a lot more soul masters than they did. Simply put, if the Sun Moon Empire didn't have their formidable soul tool fronts and linked soul tools, Shrek City might not lose if they fought head-on. The atmosphere between both parties was a little tense, and an epic battle could occur at any moment. The quieter the Sun Moon Empire was, the stronger the feeling of pressure before a rainstorm. Right in this moment, a single person appeared soundlessly on Shrek City's battlements. No, he wasn't the only one. Someone else stepped out after that person appeared. Her long, pinkish blue hair draped behind her back as she stood next to him. Huro Yuao gazed into the distance. Even though the Sun Moon Empire was 45 kilometers away, the weather was good, and he could still roughly see what was going on with his vision. The Sun Moon Empire's great army was still over there. Tang Wutong stood beside him quietly, and she pulled over her long hair from behind her back and began to comb it. Combing hair on Shrek City's battlements wasn't something that just anyone would do. The commanders on top of Shrek City walls responsible for patrolling stood near him as they looked on silently with respectful expressions on their faces. Everyone knew what Huro Yuao looked like. Ever since that day when he had bravely challenged the Beast God, Shrek City soul masters and the two empires soul masters could all recognize him. Huro Yuao did lose that day, but he managed to survive after the Beast God had attacked him at full strength. That proved how powerful he was. The Beast God, Ditian, was the strongest individual on the continent, stronger than even an ultimate Douluo. Therefore, Huro Yuao didn't waste any words at all as he stood on the battlements. Furthermore, the main defensive force which was on the city walls was the heavy artillery soul engineer legion, and Huro Yuao was their commander anyway. He just stood there in silence and continued to watch. Tang Wutong finished styling her hair as braids fell down to her hips and extended to the top of her head. Her hair was tied into a scorpion braid. "You should still stay here." Huro Yuao glanced at his lover exasperatedly. Tang Wutong shook her head. "I don't have to participate, but I have to be beside you." Huro Yuao caressed her head as he came up next to her cheek and kissed her gently. "You smell good." Tang Wutong was embarrassed. "Everyone is looking. Let them look. I'm kissing my wife. Let's go. We don't have much time." Huro Yuao held Tang Wutong's hand as he spoke, and they soared into the sky as everyone looked on. Nobody saw them use flying type soul tools as they flew toward the Sun Moon Empire just like that. They've flown away. Shrek City Defense Army looked on with widened eyes and slack jaws. What's happening? They're flying away just like that. Why? Why are they flying toward the Sun Moon Empire? What are they trying to do? Quick, report to the academy. Tell them that Huro Yuao and Tang Wutong have gone toward the Sun Moon Empire camp. They thought about the Sun Moon Empire's demand for Shrek City to hand Huro Yuao over, and the city defense army's general began to sweat. Who knew what they were doing? Were they handing themselves over? Faint light flickered as a dash of ice gold light flashed across Huro Yuao's face. He flew through the air as his spiritual power surged forth like a tidal wave. However, his spiritual power went up into the sky instead of toward the Sun Moon Empire's camp. Huro Yuao's terrifying spiritual detection covered a vast area as aerial surveillance soul tools appeared one after another within his senses. Shrek Academy had many powerful individuals, and that was the reason why the Sun Moon Empire didn't dare to allow their aerial surveillance soul tools to fly too close to Shrek City to avoid any losses. But these aerial surveillance soul tools had nowhere to hide in front of Huro Yuao's formidable spiritual power. but they had already discovered his presence at this point, and they immediately retreated towards the Sun Moon Empire's camp like a wave. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong didn't hide themselves. Huo Yuao had an excellent reputation in the Sun Moon Empire. Besides his prowess, Huo Yuao had destroyed the greatest number of the Sun Moon Empire's aerial surveillance Sol tools. Therefore, once the Sol engineers who were controlling the aerial surveillance Sol tools discovered him and immediately reported to their superiors, they hurriedly withdrew their surveillance Sol tools. Huo Yuao withdrew his consciousness in the next moment. He wanted this outcome. The Sun Moon Empire had given them pressure all this time, but this time, it was his turn to give them some pressure. This was the only way that his plan could continue. They quickly covered the remaining distance to the camp, and it didn't take long before the Sun Moon Empire's camp appeared clearly in Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong's vision. Huo Yuao squinted slightly, his expression as cold and solemn as ever. Huo Yuao was as calm as he could be under such circumstances. Dense energy waves appeared from the Sun Moon Empire. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong could evidently feel the concentrating energy from the ground even though they were in the sky. As Sol tool fronts began operating one after another as they locked onto Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. A single person could do nothing against these Sol tool fronts no matter how formidable that person was. The Sun Moon Empire had already proved that fact with the Beast God. Even though the Beast God had also destroyed a Sol tool front, the Sun Moon Empire had managed to force him away to the point where evil Soul Masters took that opportunity to hurt him. Huo Yuao was strong, but he was still just a single person. However, the Sol engineers who were locking onto Huo Yuao didn't have that thought for a long time before something happened. Huo Yuao vanished. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong vanished at almost the same time in midair. They didn't leave any traces at all, so all the waves that were locking onto them immediately became useless. Huo Yuao was strong enough to conceal himself even before he became a titled Douluo. Not to mention now, shaking off those surveillance Sol tools was simply too easy. The difference between Huo Yuao and Detian was that Detian could manipulate spatial power, but Huo Yuao relied on his martial soul strength to integrate himself into his surroundings. Furthermore, Huo Yuao could imitate any kind of energy wave with his formidable spiritual senses. Even a few ultimate Douluo probably wouldn't be entirely certain of finding him under such circumstances, let alone these surveillance Sol tools. At least, these Sol tools couldn't do that with their current technological standard. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong vanished, but the Sun Moon Empire's camp didn't loosen up because of that. The Sol engineers were very clear, no matter what class they were, about what would happen to them if a transcendent Douluo managed to infiltrate their Sol tool front, or if one came close to them. Huo Yuao's clash with Detian gave them a deep impression and lesson. There were still traces of the frightening fusion of darkness and ice on the ground, and those traces weren't something that could be dispelled within a short period of time. A sigh could be heard from the sky before Huo Yuao's voice traveled far into the distance. Didn't you guys want Shrek City to hand me over? I'm here now. Who's coming to receive me? Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.